Hello students, today let us start with the chapter cranial cavity. Cranial cavity is the space present within the skull which lodges the brain. It is also known as brain box or calvaria. So here in the diagram we can see this part of the skull, it is lodging brain. So this much area of the skull is known as cranial cavity, and rest of the part constitutes the facial skeleton, that is the lower part of the skull. Apart from brain, cranial cavity also has meninges, that are the coverings over the brain, venous sinuses, which are the venous channels draining the venous blood of brain, cranial nerves, which are arising from the brain tissue, blood vessels, which supplies the arterial blood to brain, and also contains a gland known as pituitary gland. So all these structures are the contents of cranial cavity, that is brain, meninges, venous sinuses, cranial nerves which arises from the brain, and blood vessels which supplies the brain, and along with a gland known as pituitary gland present in the cranial cavity. The convex upper part of the cranial cavity is known as cranial vault. It is uniform and smooth. Base of cranial cavity which is present here, it is uneven and presents three cranial fossae: anterior, middle and posterior cranial fossa. These fossae lodges the inferior uneven surface of the brain. Cranial cavity contains brain and meninges, and out of these meninges, outermost is the dura mater. Deep to the dura mater lies the arachnoid mater, that is also known as middle meninx, and then innermost meninx is the pia mater, which lies in close relation to the brain. Dura mater is the thickest and outermost covering of the brain. It encloses the cranial venous sinuses. So these are the cranial venous sinuses visible. These are present between the two layers of the dura mater. This is the diagram showing relation of dura mater with other meninges of the brain. So here we can find out this is bone of the skull, and just interior to the bone of skull there is presence of dura mater, which is in the form of two layers: periosteal layer, which is known as endosteal layer, and this is meningeal layer, which is the inner layer of dura mater. Then interior to dura mater or beneath the dura mater there is presence of second meninx known as arachnoid mater, which is shown in this purple color, and the space between the dura mater and the arachnoid mater is known as subdural space. Beneath arachnoid mater there is presence of third meninx known as pia mater. Arachnoid mater is separated from pia mater by the presence of a wider space known as subarachnoid space, which contains CSF in it, and also it gives passage to various blood vessels through it. Pia mater is adherently attached to the brain tissue. So let us discuss cerebral dura mater in detail. So the dura mater which surrounds the brain is known as cerebral dura mater, and the dura mater which extends over to the spinal cord is known as spinal dura mater. So here that is why the term cerebral dura mater is used, because we are concerned here with the dura mater covering the brain. Dura mater is the outermost covering of the brain. It is thickest and toughest membrane. There are two layers of dura mater. An outer layer is known as endostele layer, which act as an internal periosteum. Internal periosteum means it is present just towards the inner aspect of the skull bone. So that is why it is known as internal periosteum. Inner layer of dura mater is known as meningeal layer. The meningeal layer is continuous with the spinal dura mater, means it continues downwards out of the skull to surrounds the spinal cord as well. But this periosteal or endostele layer, it remains only confined to the skull or only surrounds the brain. These two layers remain fused to each other at all the places, but at certain places these enclose cranial venous sinuses between them. Cranial venous sinuses, these act as venous channels and these drain the venous blood of brain. Endostele or endocranium, it is present towards the inner aspect of the skull bone, and towards the outer aspect of skull bone there is presence of pericranium. Pericranium is the term used for periosteum of the skull bone. So both these layers, these communicate with one another at the sutures and foramina that are present between the bones and within the bones. Endostele layer of the dura mater, it is continuous with the periosteal lining of the orbital cavity also, and this continuation is through the superior orbital fissure. Another modification of the endostele layer is that it forms sheath or covering over the cranial nerves which leaves the skull. So when the nerve leaves the skull, and then it is covered by a sheath known as epineurium. So within the skull the nerve is covered by endostele dura mater, and outside the skull this endostele dura mater, it get continues with the epineurium of nerve. And especially in case of optic nerve, the dura mater covering the optic nerve, it get continues with the sclera of the eyeball. Outer surface of this endostele layer and inner surface of the skull bone, these are connected with the help of various fibrous and vascular processes. The adhesion is most marked at the sutures on the base of skull and around the foramen magnum, means endostele dura mater is more tightly attached to skull bone at sutures at the base of the skull and around the foramen magnum. Meningeal layer of the dura mater, it folded on itself to form partitions which divide the cranial cavity into different compartments which lodges different parts of the brain. These folds are falx cerebri, which is also visible here between the two cerebral hemispheres, and others are tentorium cerebelli, falx cerebelli, diaphragma cellae. So first comes to falx cerebri. Falx cerebri is a large sickle-shaped fold of dura mater occupying the median longitudinal fissure between two cerebral hemispheres. So here we see the cerebral hemisphere. This is one half of the cerebral hemisphere. So if we remove this half, then we will reach this area, that is the space between two cerebral hemispheres known as median longitudinal fissure. So this area is occupied by a fold of dura mater, or dura mater get folded in this free space and forms this sickle shaped fold known as falx cerebri. It is having two ends, anterior end and posterior end. Two borders, superior border and inferior border. Anterior end is narrow and is attached to the crista galli. Crista galli is an upward projection of the ethmoid bone. Posterior end is broad and is attached along the median plane to the upper surface of tentorium cerebelli, which is another fold of the dura mater. Superior border or upper margin is convex and is attached to the lips of sagittal sulcus. Sagittal sulcus is an impression produced by this superior sagittal sinus on the inner aspect of cranial vault. Lower margin is concave and free margin. So this picture gives the view of only falx cerebri. Cerebral hemispheres are absent in this picture. So falx cerebri is having two surfaces, right and left, or lateral surfaces. So left surface, right surface. These two surfaces are related to medial surface of corresponding cerebral hemisphere. So here we can also find out its posterior attachment, that is on the tentorium cerebelli, that is a tent-shaped fold. This is tentorium cerebelli, and in the median plane over this superior surface of tentorium cerebelli, its posterior and is attaching. Three sinuses are present in its relation. Superior sagittal sinus lies along the superior border. Inferior sagittal sinus lies along the inferior border or inferior margin, and straight sinus along the line of attachment of the falx cerebri to the tentorium cerebelli. Next comes to second fold of dura mater known as tentorium cerebelli. It is a tent-shaped fold of dura mater forming the roof of posterior cranial fossa. Tentorium cerebelli is present in this area, so it separates the occipital lobes of cerebrum from the cerebellum. Tentorium cerebelli, which is present in this area, it divides the cavity of posterior cranial fossa into two compartments. One is supratentorial area and one is infratentorial area or compartment. Infratentorial compartment contains the hindbrain and lower part of midbrain, and supratentorial compartment contains the occipital lobes of the cerebrum. Tentorium cerebelli has an attached margin and a free margin. So anterior free margin is U-shaped and it is free. The ends of the U in this area, these are attached anteriorly to the anterior clinoid process. Anterior clinoid processes, these are the posterior bony projections from lesser wing of the sphenoid bone. So anterior free margin of this tentorium cerebelli, it extends anteriorly up to the anterior clinoid process. This margin bounds the tentorial notch, which is occupied by the midbrain. Outer margin is attached margin and is convex. In this diagram, this green color structure is the tentorium cerebelli. So here we can see its posterolateral attachment. Posterolaterally, it is attached to the lips of the transverse sulcus, which are present on the occipital bone. Transverse sulcus means the impression produced by the passage of this transverse sinus. On the lateral most aspect, it is attached to the posterior inferior angle of the parietal bone. So this is the inferior most part of parietal bone known as posterior inferior angle of parietal bone. It also give attachment to some part of the tentorium cerebelli, and anterolaterally it is attached to the superior border of petrous temporal bone. So this is the area of petrous temporal bone. So superior border of that give attachment to the tentorium cerebelli. And posterior clinoid process, so it extends anteriorly up to the this posterior clinoid process. Venous sinus is related to tentorium cerebelli. The anterolateral part of tentorium cerebelli is related to superior petrosal sinus, and the posterolateral part is related to the transverse sinus. At the anteriormost part of its attached margin, it gives an extension or a recess which encloses this trigeminal ganglion. So here this yellow color structure is a trigeminal ganglion, that is the ganglion of trigeminal nerve. So this ganglion is enclosed by extension of this fold of dura mater, that is tentorium cerebelli, that is known as Meckel's cave. So this is a structure showing Meckel's cave in which tentorium cerebelli fold of dura mater extends anteriorly and encloses the trigeminal ganglion within it. So this extension is known as Meckel's cave. Anterior free margin of tentorium cerebelli and posterior attached margin, these crosses each other near the apex of petrous temporal bone. Anterior to this crossing, there is presence of a triangular area of this tentorium cerebelli, which forms the roof of the cavernous sinus, and this roof of cavernous sinus, it is pierced by third and fourth cranial nerve, so oculomotor, and trochlear nerve pierces the this part of tentorium cerebelli. Tentorium cerebelli has two surfaces, superior surface and inferior surface. Superior surface is convex and inferior surface is concave. Superior surface slopes on both the sides from the median plane. Falx cerebri is attached to the superior surface, and at the line of attachment between these two folds there is presence of straight sinus. Superior surface is related to the occipital lobe of both the cerebral hemispheres. Inferior surface is concave, and this concavity fits the convexity of superior surface of cerebellum. Falx cerebelli is attached to its posterior part. Falx cerebelli. Falx cerebelli is a small sickle-shaped fold of dura mater projecting forwards into the posterior cerebellar notch or between the two cerebellar hemispheres. Base of this sickle, it is attached to posterior part of inferior surface of tentorium cerebelli in the median plane. Apex of the sickle, it divides into two parts and is lost on the sides of the foramen magnum. So this is the area of the foramen magnum through which lower part of medulla oblongata it descends downwards. So apex part of it divides, it bifurcate and lost on both the sides of the foramen magnum. Posterior margin is convex and is attached to the internal occipital crest. Internal occipital crest is a prominent bony margin of occipital bone visible from the interior of skull. It extends from internal occipital protuberance to the foramen magnum. So it gives attachment to the posterior margin of the falx cerebelli. Posterior margin of the falx cerebelli encloses the occipital sinus. Anterior margin of falx cerebelli, it is concave and free margin. Next fold is diaphragma sellae. Diaphragma sellae is a small circular horizontal fold of dura mater forming the roof of hypophyseal fossa or the fossa for pituitary gland. This is the fossa for pituitary gland. This fossa or depression is present in the sphenoid bone. So the sphenoid bone, it is having this saddle-shaped depression for lodging the pituitary gland. So this part of bone is known as sella turcica. So this depression on both the margins are having elevation of the bone. Anterior elevation is known as tuberculum sellae and posterior elevation is known as dorsum sellae. So diaphragma sellae is a circular fold of the dura mater present in this area. Anteriorly it is attached to the tuberculum sellae and posteriorly attached to the dorsum sellae, and below it lies the fossa for the pituitary gland. Diaphragma sellae has a central aperture through which stalk of pituitary gland passes. Blood supply of dura mater. The dura mater of the vault area or supratentorial area, it is supplied by branches of middle meningeal artery, anterior cranial fossa, and the dura mater lining it is supplied by meningeal branches of anterior ethmoidal, posterior ethmoidal, and ophthalmic arteries. All these arteries are the branches of internal carotid artery. Middle cranial fossa and the dura mater lining it is supplied by branches of middle meningeal artery, accessory meningeal artery, internal carotid artery, and the ascending pharyngeal branch of external carotid artery. Posterior cranial fossa and the dura mater of this area is supplied by meningeal branches of vertebral artery, occipital artery, and ascending pharyngeal arteries. Nerve supply of dura mater. Dura mater of the vault area and supratentorial area, it is supplied by ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve. A few nerves supply this vault area. The dura mater of floor of the skull, it has rich nerve supply and it is quite sensitive to pain. Dura mater of anterior cranial fossa is supplied by anterior ethmoidal nerve, which is a branch of ophthalmic division of trigeminal nerve, and partly it is supplied by maxillary nerve, that is also a branch of trigeminal nerve. Dura mater of middle cranial fossa, it is supplied by maxillary division of trigeminal nerve in its anterior half, and posterior half is supplied by mandibular nerve, which is also a branch of trigeminal nerve. Dura mater of posterior cranial fossa is supplied mainly by recurrent branches from first, second, and third cervical spinal nerves, and some nerve supply is also given by meningeal branches of 9th and 10th cranial nerve, that is glossopharyngeal and vagus nerve. Applied anatomy related to cranial cavity. The structures which are present within the cranial cavity, these are responsible for pain sensation to the patient. The pain sensitive structures are, first are the large cranial venous sinuses and their tributaries, which are receiving venous blood from the surface of brain. Arteries which supplies the dura mater as well as the base of the brain, and dura mater of anterior and posterior cranial fossa. So pain in the head may be felt by dilatation of intracranial arteries, dilatation of extracranial arteries, traction or distension of these pain sensitive structures, infection as well as inflammation of intracranial and extracranial structures which are supplied by sensory, cranial and cervical nerves. So this is mainly the inflammation or infection of meninges that produces pain. The condition is known as meningitis. Next condition is epidural or extradural hematoma and subdural hematoma or hemorrhage. Both the conditions are common. The difference between extradural and subdural hemorrhage is the hematoma in the epidural hemorrhage, it forms between the skull bone and the outer layer of dura mater. In subdural hemorrhage, the hematoma, it forms beneath the dura mater, inner layer of dura mater, and between the outer layer of the arachnoid mater. In epidural hematoma, there is history of motor vehicle accident, and in subdural hematoma, there may be history of fall, but there is no history of any trauma to the head. Extradural hematoma is arterial. It is due to injury to middle meningeal artery, whereas subdural hematoma is venous in nature. It is due to tearing of tributaries of cranial venous sinuses. In extradural hemorrhage, there is no blood in the CSF as subarachnoid space is quite away from this area of hematoma formation, while blood in the CSF is a common feature of subdural hemorrhage because subarachnoid space is present very close to this area of hematoma formation.